I'm about to introduce an individual who hopefully will follow on to what Mike has said. For he is an Iraqi citizen who recently immigrated here to the United States. Freddie Fedhal, we call him Freddie. I think you can figure out why. He's one of the most interesting individuals I've ever had the opportunity to meet, and the pleasure to call him a friend. He's a former Army interpreter who supported the American Army units of the beloved 101st Airborne, the 82nd Airborne, the 1st Armored Division, and the 1st Cavalry Divisions from 2001 until the time that he left Iraq in January of 2005. Born in Baghdad in 1979, the same year Saddam Hussein seized power, Freddie was raised and lived in Baghdad with his family and one older brother, 2 sisters, and his parents. Freddie's mother was Jordanian, but his father was an Iraqi. Freddie worked his way through grade school, achieving high marks, allowing him to go to college and earn a bachelor's degree in computer sciences. Because he was the top performer in his undergraduate work, he was allowed to pursue a master's degree in computer networking. However, his studies were interrupted by the war, and because he refused, get this, he refused to join Saddam Hussein's Ba'ath Party. Freddie did not finish his graduate work until liberated from prison by the United States invasion in 2003. While serving as an Army interpreter, Freddie was able to go to school on his free time and complete his master's degree. Today he resides in the Twin Cities. He's a permanent resident status, fully accredited U.S. equivalent academic credentials for all his studies with degrees earned in Iraq. Freddie works as an IT professional. Ladies and gentlemen, please give the warmest of welcomes to our friend, Freddie.
Check. Good evening. اسمي فادي فاضل الطائي، انولدت ببغداد سنة 1979. عشت حياتي بالعراق كلها بسنة 2005. جيت الولايات المتحدة بسنة 2007 وأني هنا كل السعيد بوجودي وياكم. What I just said in Iraqi is, my name is Freddie Fadil. I was born in 1979. I was born in Baghdad. I lived there my entire life. I've been here in the United States for about 3 years now, and I'm very happy to be here, to have the opportunity to talk to everyone and share my experiences. A lot of my friends advise me to share what I have to say with people. It's quite the task, also given the size of the subject. But I always get the same advice, which is be yourself, connect with people. Just let it be real as it is. So I kindly ask you to, the spotlight, please. If you can just dim it down a little bit. Thank you. Two concepts or 2 words I'd like to keep emphasizing on, which is wake up and stand up for yourself, that is. What I'm about to tell you is something that I have never ever expected to happen. Some turns in my life I have never chosen, nor even knew that some decisions I made would have such serious consequences. I was born in 1979 to an Iraqi father who was Shia and a Jordanian mother who was Sunni. They both went to college. They both had the opportunity to go to Europe, see the real world outside of our circle in the Middle East. They came back with ideas. They have interaction with other nations. They were well educated. They decided to start a family that is human, a good family, following the basics of all nations, of being a good person. They wanted to raise good men and good women. I have one brother and two sisters. Growing up, my family tried to engrave these principles in us and not let us be biased to anything. They had their own arguments. Being Shia and Sunni, it was very interesting to grow up watching that kind of stuff. Yet they always had a happy median in the middle. I never understood why people were Sunnis or Shias and how is that different and how come my mother and father got married. But it was never a problem. Growing up watching that was such an advantage that I had. There are things that I never understood growing up. I didn't know much about what was going on in my country. Everything was already there. I was born in the years that Saddam took power. When I was born, we were already in war with Iran. I know all about tanks, bombs, rockets. Not know all about them, but I grew up around that. So a lot of our toys as kids were in shape of guns and tanks. Everything was all about war. Yet there were things like talk inside the house. We called it house talk. Us as kids were not supposed to go to school and talk about what we talk about in the house. The family would discuss things that are political or opinions, mostly free and mostly justified. Yet we couldn't talk about that outside the house because the regime will weed out anything like that. We never understood, but we had this code word, house talk. You don't talk about that in school with your friends. Going to high school, I started realizing that there's something called the Ba'ath Party, Saddam's regime. And I understood that you get to a certain age and then you have to sign a waiver. And pretty much you're saying, I am a member of the Ba'ath Party. You don't really have to do anything, you just had to sign. I didn't understand what that was about. But we were raised at an early age saying, don't sign that, don't join anything you don't believe in. But it was an easy deal because everyone signed. Because if you don't sign, you just get weeded out. And it didn't really mean anything. Everyone signed because it was not a judgment thing for their character. They just did what people had to do to survive. Yet we didn't, me and my brother and my sisters. We easily blended in within the crowd since everybody signed. There are things that I also never understood till I grew up later on and started realizing more things about this world. I still remember there was this cartoon that we owned on a VHS cassette. It was called Animal Farm. Later on, I learned to know that it was a George Orwell's novel. That was banned in Iraq. Later on, growing up, I realized that this was the life that I was living. I remember riding my bicycle to my friend's house, and I had to hide that cassette. I never knew why, but my mother and father told us, don't ever get caught with this, otherwise our entire family will die. Going into college, starting to realize more about the life that I'm living, and really ambitious to see what's outside Iraq. We had a blackout. Everything was told to us. We had to be, our thoughts were dictated to us. The Iraqi president would come on the news and say things like, leave the bread to the baker, telling everyone, just don't worry about life, don't worry about opinions. We'll think for you. We'll pick what wars we want to go in. Just be a good Ba'athists.